I became very ill. I was not in a state to make content. I had to rest. I had to get better. Luckily, I had YouTube videos already posted that were bringing in not just views, but leads and sales. So as soon as I was better, I got on Zoom with these potential clients and I didn't need to sell them because they already said, I want to work with you. Let's make this happen. They saw my testimonials, they saw the results. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to sell, you want to sell without selling, YouTube's your best bet because other platforms are great. However,
I'd like to ask you, Ari, what does it take to succeed with YouTube?
my answer is going to be very different from what you hear. It really takes, I would say, two main things. One is
I welcome you to the first episode of YouTube Insider. What we are doing in this show is to spotlight creators and business owners who are using YouTube to create real results, both in profit and in impact. When I say results, I am actually talking about people that are using YouTube to grow their business, to increase their revenue, and not just that, they are making content and using social media to impact people's life and make a difference. So whether you're a business owner or you're just passionate about making videos, you'll find gems in this show. And today we are going to be hosting Ariana Lagunas, popularly known as Ari the Creator. She's a living proof that you don't actually need a massive audience to make massive income. And through our 7-part roadmap, which we're going to be definitely talking about today, Ari has helped creators and business owners turn their content into predictable revenue engine without relying on AdSense or even viral videos. And she's also the founder of Creators for Change, a philanthropy podcast that interviews change makers. Welcome to the show, Ari.
Thank you so much for
How are
having
you
me. I'm
doing
excited to be
today?
here. I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you for having me today.
Great. So we're just going to dive right into it. First, the first thing I would really like you to do is to share your story. Yes, I did some introduction about you, but I would like you to tell us, where are you coming from? Where have you been? And how do you finally end up as the Ari we are currently seeing right now that is having success on YouTube and even making impact with creators for change? So I would hand over the mic to you right now.
That's a great question, and I will answer it in a nutshell because I'm actually planning to write a whole book on just the journey so that other people too can essentially, no matter where they are, rise from the ashes, find their purpose, and use YouTube as a vehicle. So with that being said, I grew up with adverse childhood experiences. I am a childhood survivor of abuse and trauma. And so when I was in college, the pandemic hit and I was close to finishing college and I was like, you know what? I don't want to get a traditional 9-to-5 job. I don't want people telling me what to do. You know, my whole life I wanted freedom, I wanted a life of purpose, but I didn't feel like I had control because, you know, you're a child, what can you do? And so I was like, you know what? I see other people doing this online stuff. It's COVID. We're inside already. Let me just focus on growing a brand and a business. Didn't know what it would look like, but I just started Ari the Creator. I started my YouTube channel. And, you know, that's my message for you too. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't get clarity first. First you take action and then clarity comes. So I started my YouTube channel and my brand in my college dorm room, my senior year of college. And then from there, I took it one step at a time. I eventually found mentors. I grew it to a multi-six-figure business, moved to San Diego, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to just take this money and buy nice clothes and a fancy car and just show off. I actually want to put this somewhere where it can make a difference. And so that's why I started the Creators for Change brand. And that's a philanthropic arm of my current business. And so what we do is we interview change makers, people who are doing really good in the world using social media for good causes, and we spotlight them. And that is to really empower our next generation, our younger kids. Because I remember when I was younger, I felt like I didn't have good role models. And so we're actually working right now with a mentor to get Creators for Change established in schools across the nation in the
Wow.
US. And we're going to bring them to the Creators for Change podcast just to find good role models, people in many different industries doing many good causes. So it's much bigger than YouTube, what I do. It's using YouTube as a vehicle to get your word out that leads to opportunities. And with my business, just so that you know that it's legit, the way that we've been able to scale to multi six figures, we don't teach people the traditional, this is how you grow on YouTube. We teach them how to grow a brand, how to get leads, how to get sales. Once that's working organically, we pour gas to the flame with setting up paid ads. Paid ads, like you put money into paid ads, and that just amplifies your voice even more. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
Great. I love that. I think that the part where you started to talk about action before clarity, and you don't necessarily have to have everything figured out. I mean, look at where you are right now. It's way, 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 way far from where you started. And I love the whole vision about creators for change, going to schools and spotlighting people that are actually making change in the world. So that's really a good one. I would like to ask Ari, why YouTube? Why YouTube? What makes YouTube different from every other social media platforms? I know you use other platforms apparently, but you talk more about YouTube. You've been using YouTube more, I believe, in terms of the energy and the resources that you pour into it. So what makes YouTube different?
That's a great question, and I can go on and on about that. But I like to show real world scenarios because here's the reality. If you're building a brand online, if you're building an audience online, the reality is life happens. You know this. I became very ill with COVID and just extreme jet lag. I went on a trip, extreme jet lag. I was not in a state to make content. I had to rest, I had to get better. Luckily, I had YouTube videos already posted that were bringing in not just views, but leads and sales. So as soon as I was better, I got on Zoom with these potential clients and
Wow.
I didn't need to sell them because they already
Mm,
said, I want to work with you. Let's make this happen. They saw my testimonials, they saw the results. So if you're somebody who doesn't like to sell, you want to sell without selling, YouTube's your best bet because other platforms are great. Yes, you can have more reach. However, like your content is shown to people in a very short time frame. And so if you're on a call with a potential client or they're thinking about it, it's going to take much more persuasion on a call, much
yeah,
more
yeah,
selling. So that's why I personally absolutely love YouTube. People choose to watch your videos. They click on your video. They choose
yeah,
to invest 12, 15 minutes into a video. They're not just shown a video and they're kind of forced to either watch it or just keep
yeah.
scrolling.
Mm. I think that's awesome. What you said now about uh, not having to sell on the sales call is actually one thing that I experienced with one of my clients, and it just made me see YouTube as you are actually seeing it now, because he basically sent me a message and it was uh, like he was talking to a guy on the sales call, and the person said, "I feel like I'm talking to family." And they've never met. So that goes to show the power uh, in using YouTube to grow your business or acting out who you are, basically. So I'd like to ask you, Ari, what does it take to succeed with YouTube? Now, the people that are listening, they know why YouTube is different, but what does it actually take to succeed with YouTube? Is it posting videos every day, like we hear some people say? Is it having the best editing? Is it what exactly does it take to succeed? Because you are definitely seeing success with YouTube, so we want you to share that with us.
That's a great question, and my answer is going to be very different from what you hear from these traditional, we'll call them YouTube gurus. It is true that a good thumbnail, a good edited video, a well-researched topic and title, that's true that that all helps. However, if you want to use YouTube to grow a business, to have opportunities like people wanting to collaborate with you, people wanting to do podcasts with you, it really takes, I would say, two main things. One is consistency, consistently showing up. This doesn't mean that you have to post every day. It doesn't even mean that you need to post every week. But if you're constantly choosing to show up as much as you can, whatever that means, I would say minimum at least twice a month, at least 2 long form videos a month. If you do that, then you stay top of mind, because most of my clients, my recent clients, 2 of my recent clients said they saw one video of mine and they knew I meant to work with her. That's amazing, but most clients tell me I've been watching you for months or for at least a year before I said yes. That's basic sales psychology, people building trust, people getting to know you.
Over time.
So the first one is consistency. Second one is just being yourself. Being yourself. Share your wisdom, but share what makes you you. That doesn't mean that you pretend to be like someone who you're not. When you are yourself, people will resonate with that. People's gut feelings are stronger than they think. People have very good gut instincts. So they will know if you're being phony, if you're being fake. I choose not to sacrifice my authenticity with every video, because most people do that to chase views and algorithm highs. I would rather have 200 views on my video where I'm being me versus 2,000, 20,000 where I'm just acting like a puppet and just following some rigid script. So that's not going to lead to the types of clients that you want anyway.
Yeah, great. Still on that, Ari, you said something about being yourself, and I would like us to really dive deep into that, because what happens if who I I think I should be, or who I think I am, doesn't align with, let's say I'm a business owner, doesn't completely align with what I have to offer in my business. And one example that I can use is, if I think that what I consider as being myself is putting out motivational videos to inspire people and all that, and my business, what I sell is I sell mics, okay? I sell wireless mics and I sell all these gears and equipment. Uh, how do I be myself and still make videos that attract my ideal clients? Because sometimes when we hear this be yourself talks, we tend to not fully understand it. So I would like you to dive deep into that a little bit more.
That's a great question, and I love that example because I've worked with people across a huge array of different niches, and a lot of people say, I want to make motivational videos, I want to share my story. And so what you could do, I actually have this on my channel if anyone wants to check it out, but what you could do in that scenario is you can, like if you're in a technical niche, let's say you're selling mics or you're talking about software or tech, it's very hard to integrate because most people who watch those videos, they want you to get to the point. They want to get their question answered. And so what you can do in that scenario, which is what I do, works for many other people, is just to simply have a playlist on your YouTube channel. So you could sort your videos into different playlists. You can have a whole playlist just about motivation and your story. I believe my playlist is titled just like, I think it's Journey to Becoming Your YouTube Business Expert or something like that. So that's one way. But another way, and I'm going to give you an example because this proves how much it works. What you could do, let's say, hypothetically, let's say you're really into a sports team. Like you love them, like behind the scenes, you're obsessed with the sports team. You could still do your microphone review or your tech tutorial just wearing like a hat of that sports team. And that can do wonders. I mentioned very lightly in some of my videos that I used to live in the state of Indiana growing up. And I remember one time in one of my group coaching calls, no joke, there's 12 people total in the room. About 6 of the people were from the state of Indiana. Now, there's 50 states. Statistically, what are the odds of half being from Indiana? When you are yourself, when you talk about your stories and what makes you unique, it doesn't even need to be crazy. I just mentioned Indiana. People connect with that, and subconsciously, that's what causes people to make a buying decision. Subconscious things that make them think, oh, wow, this person and I were similar. They get me. I lived in Indiana. I love that sports team. That's actually why people buy. And they buy
I
with
see.
emotions, they justify it with logic.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I actually do need that
yeah,
mic. Let me buy it.
yeah, correct. So that's very true. Studying communication and more specifically marketing made me realize that emotions sell way more than logic. As a matter of fact, I am currently teaching a group of students. This is physically, by the way, in my environment, and that was on Tuesday was when we had our last class, and we're talking about script writing for YouTube videos, and we started to talk about integrating stories like you talk about now, because people are going to connect with the stories and their emotions will make them to buy before they even logically think of it well. And however, the way that you presented it now made it seem very different to me, because now what I hear you say is that I can bring out that part of me that I think my ideal clients might probably not want to see. For example, I have videos and pictures of the early stages of starting my business, and they're not looking very good because the environment where we started, we basically just used a plank on one table, and the kind of setup that we were using back then was very poor. And I don't want to post it because I feel the kind of people that I want to attract would not like to see that. So hearing this is kind of pushing me to go on to just put it out there, because that's one of the reasons I uh, made the video, by the way. So yeah, thank you for that. Now I would like to hear you talk to us about your 7 part roadmap. How did you discover it? What results have you gotten from it, and what can we learn from it?
Yeah, of course. And there is a visual to go along with it, so we can put it here on the screen so you all can see.
Okay.
I want you all to know that when I created this roadmap, before I created it, I was actually in a state of extreme burnout. I was doing my YouTube business, pumping out the videos, getting clients, but I felt like something was missing. This was before I did Creators for Change. You know, this is before I realized how you could effectively integrate being you in your content. And so what I did in that state, I was so burnt out, I chose to tear down my business and my YouTube channel. This is about maybe 1 or 2 years ago at this point.
Wow.
And I decided
That
to,
was so courageous.
yeah, I got rid of all my paying clients. This was when I was living in San Diego,
Wow.
so I have rent to pay, I got bills. I decided to tear it down, realign, rebrand, and relaunch. So as I went through the process of realigning, rebranding, and relaunching, I documented the journey. And when I looked at this roadmap, I was like, wow, anyone could follow this, whether they're just starting out, whether they're burnt out like I was, or whether they are scaling. You know, they feel good about their business, but they just want to break through to new revenue ceilings. So the first step in the roadmap is to connect with your core or reconnect with your core. And so what does this mean? Connecting with your core is really digging deep and remembering or realizing why you're doing what it is that you do. This is the most important step. Why? Because one time I got on the phone with it was a coaching call with a lawyer making YouTube videos. And we tried to like build her website and make the offers in the videos, but we're talking about it and she just broke down crying. And I'm just like, what's the matter? And she was like, I don't want to do this niche. I hate being a lawyer. And I was like, well, what do you really want to do? What is your heart telling you to do? And she was like, she was very she's into like spirituality and meditation, and she was like, I want to help people create inner peace because she didn't have inner peace as a lawyer. And I was like, okay, let's not do this business. You can make the best website, the best offer, the best videos, but if you're not connected with your core, everything's going to crumble. It's only a matter of time. So that's the first step. Second one is to clarify your dream clients. Who is the ideal person who you want watching your videos as a client, who you want to work with? Many people cast a net that's too wide. When you try to talk to everyone, you actually talk to no one. When you're too broad, no one is really going to YouTube to search in broad things. They're looking for, like, even the algorithm. It's not just the algorithm, but it's audiences. They want to connect with someone who, is known for something. They're niched. They're an expert. They stand for something very specific. Third part of the roadmap is to either create or repair offers. I say create or repair because if you are, whether you're new or even if you've been in the game for a while, it might be time to create new offers. Or if you already have existing offers, but they're just not selling, we got to repair that. So offers is basically what are you giving to people in exchange for their money. So don't think of it like you're selling an offer. It's an exchange of value. It's an exchange of someone's time, energy. It's a fair trade. Fourth is capturing aligned leads. How are you going to turn a viewer into a buyer, into a client? So there needs to be an effective way to capture leads, whether that is to fill out a form, go through a funnel. It could even be to DM you on Instagram. There needs to be some bridge to capture those leads, to contact these people and to get them on board with what you have. Once you know what you're offering, you know how to capture leads. Fifth part of the roadmap is to create consistent quality content. We already talked about what that means, being consistent, showing up as you, answering questions that your dream clients are actually looking for on YouTube. They're actually typing into the search bar, they're seeking it out. Sixth step of the roadmap is closing sales with confidence. This doesn't mean that you have to get onto sales calls. In fact, some of my 7-figure earning clients, they don't get onto sales calls. They have a page, like a web page that has all the copy on there to basically get someone to yes. Seventh step is to actually contribute and deliver on your promise. So when someone puts in their credit card info and you get the money, not end of the day hooray. You need to actually deliver on your promise. If you promised video editing, you got to give them video editing. If you promised them a membership about mental health, you have to bring them on board. How do they access what they bought, their material, their modules, the calls? That's where you deliver on your promise. That's where when you get repeat clients, that's when you have a sustainable business. Pour gas to the flame with paid ads. You have a solid contributing YouTube business. So those are the 7 steps.
Wow. I think this should be you should turn this into, I don't know, something that people study for 6 months, because I think it's a lot. Because now I even still have a few questions within this 7 parts roadmap that you have just shared with us. And I would like to start from the part of the offers. I believe that most people that will be watching this are already into business. They are business owners already. But however, if they are not, I'm quite sure you explained what it is already. My question is, how should I structure my offer as a business owner? I know that I was actually going through your content. I went through quite a number of your videos, and I know you talked about structuring offers and all that, but I would like you to also talk about it here, because there was a way you talked about it, and it was completely different from what I've heard elsewhere. Okay, so how should I structure my offer as a business owner?
Great question. I explain this in a lot of different ways in many of my YouTube videos. So if I'm going to explain one of my favorite ways, but if you heard
Okay.
me say something else in a video, I'm happy to talk about that as well. So when you're thinking of, remember, an offer is something that you exchange for someone's money. It's an exchange, equal exchange of value. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing I really want to drill into people's minds. It's not, you're not taking anything, you're not like selling anything. You have years of experience and knowledge to the point where you deserve to be compensated. So that's the first thing. And when you're thinking of, okay, what do I offer to people? What is that thing that I give? There's two ways to think about it. So I go like this. So the first thing you want to think about is, what does my audience want and need? The people who you're trying to reach. This is part two of the roadmap, clarifying your dream clients. Let's say hypothetically someone's dream clients are men in their 20s trying to get healthy, build a physique. It's like, okay, what do they want and need? What's something that can actually help them get the results they're trying to achieve? Think of all the possibilities. Could be a membership, could be private coaching. It could even be someone else's products. Ooh, like this protein powder, this meal plan. And then you want to think, okay, this is everything that they want and need that can help them get the result. What is aligned with my ideal lifestyle? What am I willing and able to deliver? Because there's certain products that you might not be willing to create yourself. For example, protein powder could help these young men. You're probably not going to go out, I shouldn't say probably, many of you probably aren't going to go manufacture your own protein powder and go through all the FDA
Yeah.
regulations and the shipping. So it's not something you create yourself. But you could be an affiliate for it. So the point I'm making is, you want to think of, okay, what's the intersection? One client of mine, she's a therapist, and so we know that her people could benefit from one-on-one therapy, but she doesn't do it because she's got 4 young children. She wants to be at home with them at this point in her life. That's not at the intersection here. That's out of the circle. So she doesn't do that. She just has a monthly membership and some courses. So that's the way I think of offers, and that's the way I teach it, so that people have a business that's sustainable and fulfilling long term.
Great. Thank you so much, Ari, for that. And I also want to ask this question. I think first, let me say that what you've basically taught us in this video now is, first of all, how to have a business that is up and running, uh, rather than just depending on YouTube to build a business for you. Because now, when you talk about the seventh part of the roadmap, you emphasized on now you have to deliver, and that's the first principle in business. You have to deliver on your promise and make sure that your clients are happy. Thank you so much. I wanted to also ask, as a business owner, should I use FameStar? FameStar is my way of saying buying views, buying subscribers, buying uh, all of these things that make your YouTube channel look like it is growing when in the actual sense it is not. So should I use that as a business? Would you advise a business owner to use all of those bots? Or FameStar basically is how I can just categorize everything. Would you advise that?
So there's a big risk to doing that. So the risk with that is, on one hand, YouTube, I've seen, has taken down accounts because they've used bots and fake numbers. So there is a risk not just with your channel being taken down, but also there's risk with your audience because I find that that breaks trust. Like how would you feel buying from someone, especially if you're in a niche where it's like, yeah, like I help people get views, like look at how
Mm-hmm.
much I get 1 million views on this video.
Yeah.
Like that, when you break your reputation online,
Mm-hmm.
that is irreversible.
Yeah.
Irreversible, because when people talk about your name, when they put
Mm-hmm.
your picture on Reddit, on all these websites like
Mm-hmm.
Quora, they make videos about it, you cannot take that back.
Mm-hmm.
When I started my business, there was a gentleman exactly my age who did that. And I'm not going to say his name, but if you look up his name anywhere on Google, that man ruined his reputation at such a young age. And no matter
Mm-hmm.
what business he tries to build, unless he changes his face and changes his name, he ruined it. So I would not advise anyone to do that. Bots are I want to make a distinction. Bots are different than running paid ads. So, because that's something my business does, is we help run paid ads for
Okay.
specifically to get sales. It's like a TV commercial.
Mm.
That's very different. Those are real people watching the video. You're paying money to put it in front of people. That's a totally different game. So personally, no, I do not recommend it. There's too much risk as a business owner. Personally, the way I see it is a lot of people who pursue that are acting out of ego
Yeah.
of, oh, how do I look? And they don't put their customer and their audience first.
Mm. That's basically what is happening right now. And because I constantly have to advise people not to do that, and I think I just wanted them to hear from you as well. So, because the purpose of a business at the core is to make impact and make profits. And I don't see how Famestar adds to that, because when bots are watching your videos, liking and maybe sometimes dropping comments, it doesn't lead to sale and you make no impact because no real people is watching your video. So thank you for sharing that with us. Now, I would like to ask this question. We're coming towards the end of this interview already, on how to avoid YouTube burnout, because I know it's a real thing, because I've watched creators tear down not just their channel but their business because they just got to that tipping point. I can talk about, is it this person from Cynicom, and he was talking about how he is tired, he's been creating for YouTube, and now he has come to a point where he can't continue anymore. And these are people with millions of views. I think there was a time I also heard about Vanessa Lau. And seeing all these people, it's just surprising. How could you build something this big and then you're just crashing it down? So I want you to talk to us about YouTube burnout. How can we avoid it? How can we not get to that point? We already desire to have millions of views, because if we have millions of views, we get millions of sales, I believe. So in the journey towards that, how do we avoid YouTube burnout?
Great question. So it does come back to my roadmap, and that's why that's always the first step. Whenever I get a new client, whether they're new or they've been in the game for a while, we reconnect with their core. Because when you reconnect with your core and you know the bigger picture, the bigger mission behind your channel, and you're very connected to that, you're going to keep going no matter what. The reason why, let's use Vanessa Lau, for example. One reason why she burned out, I actually studied her deeply. She said that she essentially, her heart didn't want to be teaching YouTube growth and SEO. And that's her personally. Some people really feel called to that. I feel called to that, you feel called to that. But deep down, she didn't want to do that. She actually started another business about boba tea. So she sells boba tea. That's what she wanted to do. And so for her, I hope no one gets to this point, but it took her crashing and burning and taking a year sabbatical to reconnect with her core by herself before she realized that. So if you want to prevent that, it takes extreme self-awareness and self-honesty. constantly checking in with yourself, thinking, is this truly what fulfills me? Is this really what I want to be remembered for? Not just by people. When I say that, people think grand scheme of the whole world. Like, no, like think of your, if you have kids, think of your kids. Do you want your kids to remember you this way? And if the answer is no, it doesn't mean that you completely change route. You could still do what you do, kind of like I still do what I do with the 7-part roadmap. But I knew it was bigger than YouTube, and that's why you could have something else that you do. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. You could volunteer on the weekends. You could, like help a child in need. Things like this. So to answer your question, it takes extreme self-awareness and radical honesty. If you're chasing millions of views to try to impress people who you don't like, you gotta look yourself in the face and be like, oh wow, that's what I've been doing these past few years. And then you have to admit that's kind of a waste of time. That's kind of a waste of energy. That's not what I want to put my time towards. And you have to be courageous enough to change course or to do something else. So, is that easy? No, but that's what it is.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the courage is actually where there's the mountain to move, because how do you actually did it. You got to a point where you had to fire all your clients essentially and build everything again. So is it possible that you take us through that process? How exactly do I pivot? Do I just wake up one morning and say, oh, now I'm connecting back with my core and I'm just going to send this message to all my clients and that's it? Because
That's a good question.
yeah.
That's a good question, and I'm so glad you asked, because
Yeah.
if you are in a position where you have bills, you have people depending on you, like kids, I would not fire all your clients and just cut off all your income streams. I would not do that. It's a process. The way I did it before, I had a plan going in. I knew, okay, for the next month or two, I'm going to rebuild. But I was sure, okay, I actually have some capital saved. So I will be fine for the next 2 to 3 months. I'm going to be good. And if worst case scenario, I'm not good, I had my safety nets. I'm gonna, I had my retirement. I have different accounts where I could touch into. So have a plan. Don't just tear everything down. And it's not a matter of, for me at least, it wasn't a matter of just firing all my clients. Like saying, "Bye, this is it." I told them, well, most of their contracts were coming to an end anyway. So
Okay.
I finished up. Any new potential clients, I said, I'm actually not taking on clients right now, so it wasn't like this big dramatic thing. So have a plan in place. But if you're in a position, some people are in a position where they could just like, how should I say this? Like they don't have dependents, they don't have a lot of bills. Then you might take a different approach, but don't just tear everything down mindlessly. Be mindful as you're doing it, and like think of also like I had a plan too of how I'm gonna earn money again and get clients. So, and everyone's way of reconnecting with their core is different. For me, I like to journal in nature by myself, but for everyone else, it's different. So, find the way that works for you. Really go inwards, and you have to trust yourself that it'll all come back together again. So it takes immense trust in yourself as well. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, it does definitely. In a nutshell, have a plan, especially if you have people depending on you. Yeah, definitely. Ari, thank you so much. You've shared a lot with us, and we're just going to round up with three things that I would like you to do. Four, actually, four. The first thing is to ask if you really have anything you would like to share with business owners who are watching this, service-based business owner who are thinking of starting out, start making YouTube videos, who are considering it, and they're like, oh, is now the right time? Should I get this gear? Should I get this equipment? maybe I should hire a video editor first. Maybe I should hire a business YouTube strategist first before going on with it. What do you have to say to them?
A lot of people get lost in the tyranny of how. How do I do this? How do I make this happen? When you connect with your why, the how will fall into place. The right mentors will come. The before like for me, before I knew it, like people were giving me camera equipment because I had such a strong why. So connect with the why, and believe me, things will fall into place. Again, this is not typical advice, but this is what I found to be true.
Mm. It's really not a typical advice, but yeah, I think it's works. I think so. Well, yeah, the second thing that I want to ask you to do is to tell us about what you can currently offer those who are wanting to start their YouTube channel, or those who are already building their YouTube channel. What do you currently have to offer them right now?
Great question. So, a good place to dive deeper into what I do, there's a couple ways. I have my 5-day workshop. This is a pre recorded training, and it's where you commit 5 days to learning about offers, content, funnels, how to sell. It's available on my website, arithecreator.com. You'll see it right there. And if you know for sure that yes, I want to pursue the 7-part roadmap to build my business, to get my YouTube channel rolling, then my 7-part roadmap course is a great place to start. It's on my website right now. You can even request trainings from me, and every week I release a new training for you to help you along the way. So those are good places to start, but I'm always having different group programs. I also do one-on-one, and all of that you can apply for on arithecreator.com.
Yeah, I will be sure to drop the links in the description for all the uh, websites that she had just mentioned so that you can access our courses and get more from her. Ari is an amazing person. She has inspired a lot in me, a lot of thoughts that I've always had. I remember the first time I saw the video of how you built a house for a family and sent one of their kids to school. I was inspired. I was like, what am I doing? I should do something. Yeah, I've always loved teaching, and I've taught for free in many instances. I do that every year. It's part of me. And that just made me see that it doesn't matter how little it is, I should just continue it. And now in the next 6 months, I plan to do something a little bit bigger than I've always done. Still planning it, but I'm sure it will turn out good. But basically, like I said, Ari is she's her energy is amazing. I could feel it through your videos, and I'm like, the first time I watched your video, I'm like, I need to reach out to you. I need to reach out to you, and I did not stop reaching out because I just I just knew there was something different about you, and I was right after all. And I mean, discovering that you spent $10,000 when it wasn't like it was it was the money to you back then was a lot actually, but you spent it to access trainings and all of that. I could tell that you've had these mindsets for a long time, and yeah, so thank you for all that you do. I really appreciate you. Now, before we finally round up, I would like you to, uh, what are the action steps? Now we've listened to you, we've learned a lot about the 7 parts roadmap. Everyone listening to you right now, they are ready to take action. Where would you say they should start from? Because right now I know there's a lot of different places they can start from. Reconnecting with their cores, repairing the offers that they have. And sometimes maybe they just have these thoughts, and sometimes we think about a lot of things and then we're not able to do anything because of that overwhelm. So what are 3 things you can say, oh, after listening to this podcast, these are the 3 most important places you should put your focus right now, and then you can continue taking action later on?
And that's a great question. It's a good one to end with because I actually learned from that. One thing I learned from that $10,000 training was that you should never leave the site of a decision without taking massive action right now. So if you're still watching this, that means that you're serious about going all in with YouTube, or you're already all in with YouTube and you want to get to the next level. And so, what I would recommend, it's going to be different for everyone, but I would recommend committing to an investment. That's the first thing. An investment doesn't have to mean money, it can be, but investing, the way I see it, is investing your time, energy, and money. So put it in the calendar to invest in something, whether you want to invest in my support or your support, because you give great services. You could put in your calendar to invest however many hours a week into making YouTube videos. Don't just say you want to do this and just walk away without doing anything. Put something in the calendar right now. That's the first thing I recommend. Second thing I recommend is to build your network and your tribe. In this game of YouTube and online business, you will not get as far if you try to go by yourself. And so, what does this look like? It could look like a number of different things. Having a mentor that supports you. It could even be having a friend that supports you. It could be joining some type of group where there's other YouTube creators who will support you. That's the second thing. And then the third thing, which is probably the most important, is I would become extremely self-aware of your own thoughts in your head. The biggest thing stopping almost everybody is not the equipment, it's not the money, it's not the tech, it's your own thoughts in your head. And it's also the thoughts of other people. You know, you got this friend or this spouse over here saying, what do you, like, I remember when I got in to YouTube, a family member said, you want to start a YouTube channel? How old are you, 14? So that voice was in my head. And I was like, you know what? Took that thought, threw it out the window. So you got to stand guard at the door of your mind and be aware, because most people have thoughts passing through. They don't even realize these thoughts. It's kind of like on autopilot, but it's what dictates their actions. And before they know it, 5 years has passed and they still haven't done that thing that they've always wanted to do. So those are my three things.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Put it in your calendar, build a network, have a tribe. And the third thing is to deal with the voice in your head by becoming self-aware. And I like how you rounded up by saying some people will think of it for 5 years, because I've had discussions with people who tell me, who some I work with for some time, but I always hear them say, for like 3 years I've been thinking about doing YouTube. And I'm like, wow. So you've had that in you for 3 years and now you're doing it. Okay. So thank you so much, Ari. I really appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for teaching without holding back anything. We really appreciate you. And I want you guys, everyone listening to this right now, to know that we're going to continue the YouTube Insider. And basically what we'll be doing is bringing on YouTube creators and business owners who are really making impact and profits with YouTube. And you can look up Ari the Creator. Potentially, we're going to also link up our channel here. I think you should go to our channel. I think you should watch our videos. I think you will find it very helpful for you. The things that she's doing, and even the things that she's teaching concerning YouTube marketing, with creators, the change and creators for change, I mean, and then with making videos about philanthropy and what she's doing and all that. You will definitely find it helpful. So I recommend that you check out our channel. And if you haven't, I'd like you to subscribe to the channel right now, because we'll be doing more of this video as well. So thank you so much for staying tuned till the end. We really appreciate you, and have a wonderful day. Bye.